Hey, I'm Nick Bombrack, and this is the Record Podcast. And I am exhausted. If you're into getting a bunch of sleep all the time, have a baby, and especially have like a 6-month-old who is currently teething, it's basically the best. All right, let's get to it here. Contest winner for last week's Glassjaw contest is Ashley, or on Twitter @DangNiceIce. So congratulations to you, Ashley. All right, future news here. So this week I'm doing something cool. I am going to be a guest on the Stage Banter podcast. If you haven't checked that out, you should definitely go listen to it on iTunes. It's a couple of buddies who review music and interview people in the music industry. And recently they interviewed Casey Bates, and I checked that out, and we got to talking. And so this week we're going to interview for that show, so keep an eye out for when that comes out. And actually, some other cool potential future news here. So last week's episode with Daraja went super well, got a lot of listens, a lot of good feedback. And him and I have gotten talking about potential co-hosting in the future. We had a good time talking during our interview, and since then we've kept talking, and he actually wants to come on again and do some co-hosting. So we are actually in the middle of trying to figure out how that's all going to work, and with that will come some actually potential really big guests that I'm very excited about. So keep an eye out for that. It's very exciting. I'm very excited about it. And similarly, during a future episode with Kurt Travis, formerly of A Lot Like Birds and Dance Gavin Dance, we actually talk about him coming back on to do mini episodes where we'll talk about upcoming bands he's heard on tour or gotten demos for, to give them some press and stuff that we're both excited about. So hoping in the future here, it won't just be you guys hearing me blabber on. We'll be able to get some repeat guests working with co-hosting and on mini episodes and stuff. Just a lot of cool collaborations in the future that I'm really excited about. So if you guys have any ideas about that kind of stuff, hit me up on Twitter @The Record Podcast without the A, or on Facebook you can find us at The Record Podcast. All right, today's guest is Mike Abiuso. He's a good buddy of mine. He is formerly of the band Venetia Fair and currently formerly of Kiss Kiss. He's also involved in a bunch of businesses, Switchbitch Records, Behind the Curtain Media. I mean, he basically has no free time. He records, mixes, and masters. He does publicity. He's a musician himself. We talk about all these projects, all the stuff that he is just constantly doing, all the bands he's been in and worked with, his music history, our tour together when he was in Kiss Kiss, the current projects he's working on, and a lot more. Another good episode with a longtime buddy, and especially one who actually is responsible for literally saving my life. So, all right, let's get to it. And go out there and get some sleep, everyone. And get all the sleep that I'm not getting, all right? Enjoy yourselves. All right, Mike Abiuso, hit it. I want to thank you for doing this bright and early, even though it's 9:30 your time.
Yeah, it is.
That's still early. I've had people who are like, "Yeah, don't call me before noon." I'm like, "All right, we'll do that."
Well, I did. I had an alarm set for 10:45 because not that I wasn't going to be awake. Well, yeah. Hopefully I'd be awake, but it was more so like I made sure like, in 15 minutes, call up.
Right.
And then I was like, I woke up this morning. It was probably a little bit before you texted me, and I was like, I wonder what stuff I can get done before I like have to pop on this call. And yo, you can give me a buzz now. It's like
I tried. See, that's the problem with text. I tried to couch it in a way that was like, don't feel pressure, like just letting you know that I'm up and ready to go when you are. But it probably came off like, let's do this right now. I need you to drop everything.
Right, right. Well, the easiest answer to what I was trying to figure out was just not do anything and call you. Because I was like, what can I get done? And the answer is nothing, and it's so easy.
Well, I'm just helping you warm up your vocals for the day. You know, if you have to make any calls, you have to track anything, you know, I'm just
That's
getting you
it.
started.
Yeah, warming up the pipes.
So speaking of that, so how many thousand different things are you in the middle of doing? Like for a Friday, like what are you thinking of all the things you have to do today?
Today's like kind of a busy day for Friday, just because like there's like a few like releases coming up, like on the label, and there's just like a bunch of shit. I know like today on the agenda was I definitely had to get over a bunch of materials for radio promo for the upcoming Flannel Mouth record.
He's so sick of them, always thanking him. Oh, you see, he didn't do shit out there in the west of Berlin, no. But he met a girl named Sophie. Oh no, he had a girl back home. As luck would have it, Sophie got knocked up, baby. Now we're sending her money. At least twice a year.
And so I went over to Chicago area. I know you're from Chicago, more like Peoria.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I like produced the record and then mixed and mastered it over here. And so like I thought it was all done, and I was like, I never have to open these sessions again. And then this dude Alex from Crowd Control Radio is like, all right, well, you need to get me a version of all the songs with not one curse in it. So so I'm like going back into these sessions, like figuring out if I should take them out, if I should reverse them, like
Yeah.
So I had to do that today, and some other stuff, but I was like, damn it, I thought I never had to open these again.
How old are the sessions? Like, is when you're reopening a session, is it like, oh, I know exactly what this is? You have to sit for like 10 minutes and be like, what is any of this?
The sessions themselves are old. Like we tracked this in like last year at this time in Peoria.
Okay.
And then it was like a slow process because like we had some guest vocalists and stuff like that, so we had to wait on that, and then mixing took a while, and the whole thing. So like it wasn't like, I just got done mastering it probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Oh wow! So I'll know people who will just produce or just engineer or just master, but you have your hands in like every part of it. Like you like doing every part of it.
I do like doing every part, but I'm also like so into like sending out stuff. Like I suggested to the guys that we should like try exploring like someone else to like mix at least like a song or something like that, or just like, whatever, just like open to do it.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, let's just like, you just do it. And
all right.
they're like, all right. So they know they can yell at me for everything,
Yeah, I don't want to have to send out like 3 emails yelling at people. I want to send one to yell at you about everything.
Yeah, I just want to know who to call and that I can call them anytime and just bitch. So like, that's on the agenda for today. And then what else? There's like we have like a few press releases that we're gearing up to send out, and just stuff like that. I have to like mix and master some other stuff for some studio projects.
That sounds stressful, man.
It's not really.
Yeah.
It's like it's stressful if I just sit down and say everything like I just did. Like now I'm like, oh shit. But like if I just like, I normally just like sit up and be like, all right, one thing that definitely needs to get done first.
Yeah.
Do that and then kind of move on.
So now that you're on the other side of the music world, do you look back on previous bands or like things that you did in the past and you were like, oh, there's so many things we could have done? Or do you feel pretty good about like the work ethic of those bands and like how they, publicized and did things like that?
It was it's a mixture of both. I mean, you can't really like look back on it and be like, oh, we should have done that. I mean, you could do that all day.
Right.
Because obviously we're not like, no band does it ever like blew up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So obviously some stars didn't align somewhere, and it could be a number of reasons, from like bad performing or bad songs or like not enough PR or like label stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But it is quite like, I do wish that like I had learned a lot of the stuff that I know now, like back then, like when I first started Because I remember like the first tours that I had done back in 2006, I think was my first tour. I literally did not care about anything except for having fun and like playing guitar.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I can't wait to get to the show. And then like did nothing in the bus, got to the show and then played and then did the same thing. Whereas like as years gone by, I like started to learn some of the ropes with like label stuff and PR stuff and actually like doing work in the bus or van or whatever, to like help ourselves or either that or like to make ends meet like financially for myself and help other artists or whatever.
Yeah.
So I definitely wished like that stuff I had cared about when I was younger, but
well, I think, yeah, that's how you start. You start out with just, we'll worry about the fun stuff. We'll write music. We'll have a good time. And then you start to learn, you know, you go to enough shows, you have enough run-ins with shitty promoters or venues that don't take care of you, or like, you know, if you're working with booking agents that are, you know, kind of giving you the runaround, then you start to be like, well, I think I can do this. I've got free time. I'll just sit and learn how to do this. And then, and then you pick it all up.
There's so much free time. Whereas like, dude, when we toured together, all I was concerned about was like getting to the next place and like skateboarding for a few hours before the show.
Well, that's probably, I think that's what we were concerned about, just hanging out with you guys and having fun. I mean, I
was like, we better get to the venue like an hour early so I could fucking hang out and like play Frisbee.
Well, and that's how it starts. You go, all right, I need to get there early because I want to do fun stuff. And then you start wanting to get there early because you're like, well, shit, we got to go around to see if there's any record stores to like hand out things there or like try to find people to get to this show. Like, and it can happen, you know, from a multitude of ways, but I think the way you learn best is by like not having that support or having to be self-reliant because no one's doing it for you and you don't want to keep playing shows to nobody. So you're like, well, how do we get people to get to this damn show on a Tuesday night in like a bar that has that's 21 plus? Like those kind of things where you're like, how do you solve this problem? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just want to hire someone to do it for me, but we don't have money to do that. So what do we do? Right.
And you just like expect everything. You're like, why didn't any booking agent come pick us up and then get us sweet guarantees and then just take a little bit of the money from the guarantee?
This is a perfect business for them. Like they're getting free money. All they have to do is just get people to our show. How could they not want to do this?
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Being on the side of it that I'm on now, like I'm so terrible about going to shows now, especially, you know, having a baby, but even just before her, like just thinking of like, oh, it's a Tuesday night, I got to go to work tomorrow. Like it's going to take a fucking miracle to get me to that show, especially if it's in Chicago. Like there's so many things. I got to drive an hour. I got to get there. I got to worry about parking. And then I got to, so to even conceive of like when you do get people to a show, but on your end, you just go out there and you're just pissed. You're like, there's only 6 people here. But you're like, yeah, but at least those people came. Like, they still had to pull their shit together to get here. Like, it's so hard to be appreciative of that stuff in that moment. Because,
dude, I'm so in the same world with you where, like, if someone's like, oh, you want to go to a show next week? I won't even, like, beat around the bush. I'll be like, there's no way I'm going to feel like going to a show in a week from now because I know that I just won't.
Yeah. Listen, I know me now. I'm a 30-plus-year-old male. I know what I'm going to feel like in a week, and it's going to be not in the mood to go to a show.
I've been hanging out with my brain and body for 31 years, and I know it's not going to get to that show.
It's even to the point where now, like, I buy tickets for shows, and I don't go, because I'm like, I'm buying tickets, and I'm like, you know what? That show's in, like, 3 months. Why would I not want to go to that show? I bought, when Refused started coming back, like, I think it was, like, their finally come back tour. I want to say I bought tickets and didn't even go. I was like, I am going to see Refused. It's one of my favorite bands. I'm not going to miss this. And then it was either like it was cold or I just had no excuse. Like I just didn't want to go anymore. And I was like, what have I become? Like, what is the person that I've become now? Refused can't even get me out the door. So I don't know who has a chance.
You might be a step worse than I am.
Oh, I know. I got to be a few steps after you easily.
So I do like press for Blue Swan Records. You know them?
Yeah.
And
so that's Will Swan's label.
Exactly, yeah. And so Sergio sent me, Sergio, this guitarist from Stolas, he also does like some managing over there at the label. And he sent me an email for a press release that's to go out for 2 of their artists, Wolf and Bear and Adventurer, who did like a split. And I looked at the date they wanted it to be announced, and it says January 29th. And I looked at the date today, and sure enough, it's January 29th. And this was sent to me 4 hours ago, it says.
Oh, no. So in that situation, what goes on in your head? Like, is it like 4 steps of like, first you're angry, then you try to work through it, then you try to like, first you write an angry email, then you cut that down to be a little more nice and straightforward. Like, how many headaches are you having like those daily?
I throw the computer on the ground.
I have several computers. I have one that's a dummy computer that's just made of rubber that I throw.
That's such a fucking good idea. That's insane. Just have a rubber computer and just throw it around.
And you put it next to your real computer, so when you and you have a rubber phone, so like you can put your real device down and you can huck it, and then you can get that anger out. And
then I'd end up like dousing everything in gasoline and just burning it all.
Huh. Yeah. So how often? I guess being so. What do you? Let's run through this quick. What are all the different titles you currently have, or like what are all the things that you are doing currently?
The things that I'm doing currently,
musically,
musically. Okay. Well, like so there's like label stuff, and then which is also like kind of affiliated with studio stuff, and
so
like,
list off online. what your things are.
Okay, so like with the label, for instance, like I said, the Flannel Mouth record, I'm gearing up for that record to drop on March 11th.
Well, let's rewind. That's Switchbitch Records.
That's Switchbitch Records. I'm sorry. Yeah,
that's okay.
And so so that's coming out March 11th. So I have to do the press for that, and get teaser videos together, lyric video, figure out the singles, figure out what dates we're gonna drop, try and land like exclusive streams of some of these songs and stuff before it comes out to promote it, and then like work on getting them a tour, which I think I have a lot of that down and done.
Okay. So you're the label. That's your label. You're the head of Switchbitch Records.
That's correct. And within that label, like there are like little other kind of things, like the studio, which is like essentially like how I made their record. And then there's like a little like online music magazine that we have that's just for like kind of fun and whatever. So like if you like tap into the studio for a second, like stuff that I'm currently working on, I'm doing a record for this girl Taylor Tucker, who's right here in Manhattan, and she's an amazing singer.
Nice.
And pretty far along with that. That'll probably be done by March. This dude Dan Aslan has been coming in, and I've been tracking his stuff, which is cool as well. A dude named James Ryan. I've been doing some of his stuff. Who he just got his jaw broken the other day. Oh, remember when we were supposed to have our session on Sunday?
Yeah. So that was your buddy.
Yeah, he's this amazing dude, like such a good musician, whatever. And then he's also like really good with kids, and one of his jobs is he works at a place called Mad Science, and he teaches kids.
That's awesome.
Like little science things and like tricks and magic stuff and how things work and chemical reaction, whatever.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to come down for a session, and after work or whatever. So he was on his way to work on the subway on like the 5 train by Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, and just leaning up against a pole. He said he was like editing a video on his iPhone or something, just like fucking around, killing time. Some dude like came up and was like, yo, like move or whatever. And he just like looked up and was like, hey man, like what the hell? And without even like having a chance to even really say that, he just got cracked like
Jesus
so hard he said the dude was like 210 or something pounds. And my buddy James is like a light dude, you know? He like dropped his phone, like he had this drink in his hoodie pocket, like that fell out of his pocket.
Damn.
He like hit the ground, like stumbled to the other side of the train. No one really helped him. It was like 2 p.m.
Damn.
Yeah, and then the guy was like taunting him. It was like this big dude like picked up the drink that James dropped and was like, waving it, being like, I got your drink.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. And so James got out of the subway, like told the cops they were going to call him an ambulance, but he couldn't afford one. So he's like, I'll just walk to the hospital. And then went there, and he like hit me up and was like, I think like my tooth needs to be pulled or something or whatever. And, it turned out his jaw was broken. He needed to get it like wired shut.
My God.
Yeah. So it was a crazy part of the weekend. 'Cause like, in between doing some work and stuff, I gotten a call from him. He was like, he could barely talk and was like, can you please bring me some water?
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. So I like picked up a thing of water.
Yeah.
And went down. 'Cause I guess the doctor that did the surgery, like wasn't there anymore because it was like 1 a.m. or something.
Oh, okay.
And he couldn't get water, and the nurses were like, they couldn't give him water, but he was getting it intravenously. So like his mouth was just so dry. So I just went over there and gave him like a cap full of water, and he was like, "You just saved me so much." It was
Jesus, man.
So anyway, sorry, I went off on a little bit of a tangent because I love that boy. But
well, if he doesn't get an album's worth of material out of that, then I don't know what you can.
I mean, he's got a full album's worth of amazing stuff, but more so regarding relationships and that whole thing. But maybe
not getting his jaw broken.
Yeah, exactly.
That's at least a song. At the very least, you got a song right there.
Totally.
I mean, if Kanye can do a whole album with his jaw wired shut, like, why can't he?
That's the truth, man. He should be back in Brooklyn and ready to rock again, like this week.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So anyway, working on his record. I've been doing a lot of stuff with, Eric Nally from Foxy.
Yeah.
And,
he's blowing up, man.
I know, Jesus, right? It's crazy.
It was so funny because when the Macklemore song started getting big, I think Jen had heard it and she's like I don't know, I like this song, but I don't know who that voice. I don't know who that girl's voice is. And I was like, okay. And then we pop it on, or it comes on. I'm like, that's fucking Eric from Foxy. And she's like, no, is it? I'm like, yeah, listen. And then I think I put on like a Foxy song. She's like, oh my God, like, how did that happen? I was like, I don't know.
So
I haven't
funny,
talked to him in
right?
a long ass time.
Downtown. She has her arms around your waist. You're the balance that will keep her safe. Have you ever felt the warm embrace of a leather seat between your legs?
It's crazy. Yeah, when he was like in the middle of some of that, he was here. He like spent the week here, and we were like tracking some stuff.
Yeah.
And he already had done a first pass at the vocals for that chorus in Seattle, I think, or wherever they maybe it's Portland, wherever they record. And so he was here, and they hit him up, and they were like, "Hey, we wanted to try it like up a key or something."
Oh wow.
So he literally like left my place, went to a studio for a few hours, and like did a take. I forget where they sent him, somewhere in Manhattan, and he did like a take of it, like up a bit. I don't remember which one they ended up keeping, but it was just like, I was like, damn, dog, they got you going to this stuff, you know?
Well, and he's got the range to do it, man. He can sing all over the damn place.
He really can. It's just quite impressive.
So you're working with Eric on other stuff?
Yeah, he's got like solo stuff, so I've been like throwing some input, like throwing some song ideas to him, then kind of also like mixing and structuring some stuff that he does. It's kind of like whatever we feel like, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, come down here and we're gonna make a record. It's kind of like, and a lot of it's long distance too. He'll just like maybe he'll send a voice memo of something, like some lyrics, and they'll be like, "Oh, you want to pop some music to this, and we'll see where it goes." And that's actually how most of it starts. Okay.
Where would you say musically, like, some of that stuff is? Because when we toured with them, he was really like, the band that he got me hip to, that he said he was really into, was Anthony and the Johnsons. He's like, this is where I get my singing style from. This is like where I learned to sing. And so listening to that and then to Foxy, I was like, this is like worlds apart. So I always wondered if like really he wanted to write music that was more geared toward that.
I'm a bird girl, and the bird girls can fly. Oh, bird girls can fly. Bird girls can fly. Bird girls can fly.
Nah, it's definitely softer. It's not like rock and roll, but it also has like, I mean, by the time anything gets out, it's probably going to be totally different because we've done like so many revamps of different things. We've had like, I mean, a lot of it seems like pretty hip, but 80s sounds, kind of like synthy, but like kind of cool and modern stuff. But at the same time, he's working with other songwriters too from like publishing companies. Cause like as soon as that Macklemore thing hit, everyone's like, yo, we want to write and do this and that. And, so who knows what's actually going to come out and when, but I'm sure it'll be freaking sweet.
Yeah. So you're in the middle of like you're working with 3 different artists right now.
Yeah. So Taylor, Dan, James, Eric too. And so then I've been 4 artists, right? But like, the thing with Eric is like his stuff is just from time to time whenever I get like some free time.
Gotcha.
It's like, it's not like I need to get anything done.
Gotcha.
Unless it's like 3 a.m. and he like hits me up and is like, yo, I need these stems for tomorrow because we have a day off and I'm going to a studio.
Jesus. Well, now I don't feel so bad for having you do a podcast at 9:30 in the morning.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But I've been doing some scoring stuff with like the studio just to like keep myself a little bit active and creative on my own, like as far as like performing a little bit,
That's awesome.
And that's been super fun. I did like 2 pieces for 2 different video games. I did like a short film. So the video games, one is for a company called In-Game. The video game is called Sleepwalker.
Cool.
Which is actually like about a depressed girl and dreaming or something.
Okay. So, did they say it's gonna be like an iPhone game or like computer or console or something?
I don't even know.
Okay.
But I'm just about to be done with that. I did like a short film called Star-Crossed Lovers, which is like a take on Shakespeare stuff.
Yeah.
And then some commercial stuff, like one for Medieval Times.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which I did it with, Jesse Corman, right?
Yeah.
You know him?
From Number 12? Yeah.
Yeah, he, how did we end up? I mean, we were label mates back then on Eyeball, but he's gotten his hands like pretty far into a lot of photo and video stuff. He's actually down in Georgia, I believe, right now doing like some shooting for a movie.
Yeah. That's another guy that seems like he doesn't fucking sleep.
Yeah, no, he doesn't sleep, that guy. Actually, the movie he's doing now is with Roy Culkin and Macaulay Culkin's, I think it's Roy. I think that's his name. Macaulay Culkin's brother, and he's down there. Awesome. And actually, I totally even forgot about this. He hit me up 2 weeks ago and was like, "Oh, the dude that composed this one scene, like dropped the ball. Can you put something together?"
That's awesome.
So I did something for that, and they like really dug it, so that stuff's been like pretty fun.
Yeah. So how does that world work? If they're wanting you to score something, are they sending you scenes that you're watching and putting music to, or like what is the process?
Like that one that I just described, for that movie, it's called Jack Goes Home, the one that Jesse's shooting. Mm-hmm. They sent me a reference, or first he sent me a reference when I was like away for the weekend and was like, "Hey, do you have anything in your library that's like this?" Yeah. And it was it was very like 80s, and it was like violin and like a chick vocalist, and I was like, hell no. Like, nothing like that. Yeah. Not even remotely close. And then I was like, I can do it, but I don't have anything that I can just give you, and I can't like just do it for free, because I'd have to like hire a violinist and a vocalist. And he's like, forget it. Like, we don't have a budget right now. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And then like a few days later, he was like, all right, we can get you some money to do this. And so I ended up hiring this girl who Rebecca knows. Her name is Tori from the band Those Mockingbirds, or she used to be in that band. She plays violin. She came down, and like I tracked her doing violin and some vocal stuff, and then I put the rest together. And I've been working with this dude John from a company called Sound Kettle Productions, and he like helps like produce stuff, and then we just threw it to him, and we got it over to him in like 2 days actually, and they were pumped on it. So that's kind of the process. I saw like the scene a little bit. Like, he sent me a video from his iPhone videoing a video, And I mean, that didn't help super much, but you get kind of an idea. Yeah. And that was the process.
Man, you hustle, man. Between all that shit, that just seems like you have vacation days few and far between.
I guess. But I mean, once I do go on vacation, I literally turn everything off for the most part. I just went to like London for a week with my lady, and didn't even open my computer, I don't think.
That's awesome. I think that's what you have to do, or else if you like see something blinking or an email come in, you're screwed. Like, that's going to be your vacation then.
Yeah, exactly. I also have like a great team of a bunch of people that do amazing work for me as well.
Yeah.
And so like those times, particularly, a lot of emails get forwarded and they handle them.
Okay.
Because like obviously, like if there are campaigns going on, I can't just like
Right.
not coordinate interviews or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So stuff is getting done. It's just I don't handle it directly.
So we started with the present. Let's go to the past and go back to where. So I know you as an East Coaster. Is that where you grew up? Like, are you born and raised New York?
Yes, I was born in Queens, which is probably about half hour west of me right now. I'm in Brooklyn right now.
Okay.
And around, I don't know, whatever year you're in first grade, when you're 5 years old or something.
Something like that, like 7.
I have no idea. I have no concept of age or time. But anyway, I know that in first grade I moved out. My parents had split up. I moved out with my mom to Montauk, which is like as far east as you can get in Long Island, like at the lighthouse essentially. And I lived, and that's pretty much where I grew up. I'd probably say I grew up there more than Queens for sure. Yeah.
So where does music start? Is it, grade school band? Is it your dad put on music that you like? Like what's your little story of music coming into your world?
Well, I definitely loved like listening to like my dad's CDs. I would like lay down on my dad and mom's CDs would lay on the floor. They got me like this karaoke machine when I was like a little kid.
Nice.
And so I would put on like, they had like Billy Joel's greatest hits or like Elton John or whatever. Still like huge fans of theirs. And also that was the first concert I ever went to was Billy Joel and Elton John at Giants Stadium.
Damn, that's heavy hitting, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, at the time I was too young to realize how awesome it was, and we were pretty far fucking back, but but it was still amazing.
Yeah.
However, I do remember getting a T-shirt from that show that had all the tour dates, and it had like Billy Joel and Elton John's face on it, and it was like 10 sizes too big. I was like, whatever, I need it. It was like a small, but it was still like a dress or a gown. And I remember like going into school like the next day or something, and like a lot of kids were like, "Oh, dude, don't you know like Elton John's gay?"
Kids are ruthless, man.
I know, and I like didn't wear it anymore. Because like, at that age you take that to heart, like so harsh. You're like, oh my God, like
I'm gonna be gay if I wear this shirt.
I know, and I care so much about that because I care so much about what every single person thinks. It's like, it sucks that we think like that at that age.
Well, especially at that age. I don't remember who I talked to. I did one of the interviews I did where we talked about like remembering that the go-to time of like growing up in the 90s was that was like what anyone was concerned about is like worrying about being gay, like to your friends or something. Like that was such a thing, like, oh, what are you, some kind of queer? And you're like, what? No, like that was like your whole world was wrapped around that being such a terrible thing. And now at the very least I feel a little comfort in that the world that Charlotte's going to grow up into, not to say that kids aren't still dickheads, but like it's a much more PC, like that's an accepted world. So at
so
the very
much so.
least.
Yeah, I mean, to hear anything like similar to what you just described now is like so. I mean, it still happens, but it's still like it's like Jesus, you're still fucking harping on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's more like what's wrong with you people as opposed to like back then. Yeah, everyone was like, yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
So that's crazy. But yeah, first concert was Billy Joel and Johnson. Oh yeah, so karaoke machine. I would like sing into that thing. Just like reading the book of all the lyrics and singing to that, and it would record to tape. And then the only thing on the tape was like essentially like just my voice, and it was god awful. I wish I could find, like, I have no idea where that thing is, but
that'd be a gem.
Oh my God. Talk about caring what people think. Jesus.
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
imagine it. But and then like, so once my parents split, I recall like, doing the back and forth every other weekend to see my dad. And I would like pop that tape in to show my mom, I'd be like, oh, I did this. It's just like awful singing. And then, but like, I never like was super passionate about it until, like fifth grade. Cause I mean, I was doing that stuff. And then like, I was in like the little band and choir and stuff and really couldn't care less about, I like started off playing sax
Oh, that's a good one though. I started playing trumpet, and I feel a lot of people just start with trumpet. So hearing saxophone is at least like I feel like the saxophone's a pretty cool instrument.
Do you?
Yeah.
I thought the opposite. I still think the opposite.
Maybe as a kid, especially like in the 90s, like thinking of doing anything with any kind of brass instrument or anything in band is like, for a lot of people, you're just like, no, I don't want any part of this. But like when towards the end of playing a bunch of stuff in Dr. Man, we had a buddy who would come up on stage and do one of the songs off the self-titled album, Baton Rouge. He'd come up and play saxophone with us, and it was like the fucking coolest thing. I love hearing a good sax solo.
That's so funny. I feel like the total I like hate the sound of a saxophone. It may have just been literally because I hated it when I was younger.
Sure,
like,
it's like flashbacks, Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like the sound of this. It gives me a headache. I don't like playing it. Like, just blowing all that air gives me a headache in itself. Like, not even thinking about the sound. But, I mean, now I can definitely I really love the sound of, like, an awesome battery sax.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, so wasn't super into it until about 5th grade. I had gone to my friend's, and he had a guitar. And his dad played guitar like super well. Like, he was playing like a bunch of like Eric Clapton in the living room.
Okay.
And his older brother was in like a punk band, and his brother played drums, and he had all these like Kiss posters, or not even posters, just like Kiss rip outs from like Hit Parader magazine.
Oh yeah.
Like all over the wall. And I was like, this dude is a man. He's fucking crazy. And so like my friend who I was there hanging out with, he showed me how to play like a few chords that he learned like just out of a book. And then his dad showed me how to play like single note Jingle Bells and then chords for Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Nice.
And from there I like got a mini guitar, or I think I had a mini guitar that I just like took out of the closet and like sat down with a book, and that was kind of it. Kind of went from there.
Yeah. So, and I was just talking to Daraj about this last night. One of my favorite parts of doing these interviews, if we get the chance to get to it, is talking about the early bands that you're in, because I feel like everyone has to be in a few early bands, like grade school, high school, even sometimes college, and the names of those bands are always the best to me. Like, they're always my absolute favorite. Like, how far back can you go? Like, how many bands did you get to jump in like those years?
Well, it's funny because do you ever go through that phase where like the idea of being in a band was just awesome, but you didn't have one yet?
Yeah.
So like I remember like being like with just like a friend of mine being like, yo, let's start a band. And like we would literally like go through names of bands and change our band name, but never actually had a band. You know what I mean? We'd like
tell me you remember a couple of those names at least.
I really like they would just come and go, but I do remember like the first band that I actually had that we had a drummer was called Neglected Potential, and it was a punk band.
You didn't have to tell me that was a punk band. I knew from the second you said Neglected Potential, that's a punk band.
You're right. I didn't have to tell you.
That's an art that I'm trying to, like, the more we talk about this, like I can start to figure out like, okay, that's a ska band name, that's a punk band name, like
yeah. It's so funny. Yeah. And I thought we were like killing it. I was like, this is like so awesome. Because just having a drummer was like insane to me.
And did you guys play shows? Like, did you act, or was it just practicing in the house?
No, we played a few shows.
Nice.
We probably played maybe like 3 shows, maybe 1 to 3 shows. I definitely remember one.
Yeah.
I'm sure we played a few shows, maybe even more than that. But yeah, and then we like kind of changed directions like pretty hard as like new influences came, and kept some of the members, got some new members, and just changed band names and all that stuff. So
good. So Neglected Potential. That's where it all begins. That's the first.
Band. And like quick funny story. Like when that band started, it was already like kind of formed like when I had gotten to high school. I guess my first year of high school or something. So like kind of when you hit high school, a few different towns, schools, like middle schools combined. You know what I mean? So so finally they were like, there was a drummer, because there wasn't a drummer really from our town, which is why we never had one. So I saw this one dude was like walking around the hall, and he like tries to give me like a patch, and he's like, "Hey, you want this patch?" And it said like neglected potential on it, and I was like, "No, I was like, I'm all right."
Wait, so there was already a band called that?
No, it was the band that I was then like later in.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
I didn't really know like what he was doing, or
right.
I was like, I don't know what this is. I didn't even think I was or mean to be rude.
Right.
But he will always, like, we're still, like, great friends right now. He'll always be like,
that's
time
awesome.
You fucking turned down that patch the first time we ever talked.
That's like, hilarious.
Yeah. So, and then I was in concert band. And by the time I was in high school, I was I played drums one year in concert band, and then trumpet, which is like what you said, trumpet. And so he was the drummer in that band, and I remember like before everyone sat down and got their tuning, concert B flat and all that stuff, he was just like fucking around on drums and like doing like a punk beat with like one foot, and I was like, oh my god, dude, like, this guy is fucking nuts.
That's impressive, man. I still can't really do that with him.
It was crazy. And so I like went up to him and I was like, hey man, that's so sick. You know how to do like a no effects beat with one foot? And he just like was so like, yeah. And I was like, God.
Even back then, I was like, yeah, this is beneath me.
So, like, he was pissed off at me for denying his patch. I was pissed off at him for being a dick about not taking my compliment about his no effects beats. And also, he was mad that I called it a no effects beat instead of a punk
beat. Oh, jeez. I think you didn't call it like a Blink-182 beat. Like, at least no effects, there's some cred there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Holy shit. But no, so we hit it off on the wrong foot. But anyway, sure, like we're like best friends now, and it took like a week, got together, started playing, and then just and that was it. We like took neglected potential to another level.
Potential was not neglected any longer.
We had to change the band name because of everything.
Oh, so what did it change to?
No.
Oh.
We didn't actually.
I was hoping for like a slew of like punk band names after that.
It's like now we have some potential, so we got to kind of keep up.
We are now some potential.
Yeah, we have some potential.
Now, one of my favorite punk band names was when me and my buddies were in like, I don't know, late middle school, early high school. I think we were just starting to form bands, and we were looking in like the dictionary, the thesaurus. And we came up. I don't even know if they ended up even having a band about like with this name in it. But Tangled Butt Hair was always one of my favorite ones that comes to mind.
God, what a fucking visual!
Yeah, and I probably
ruined my sip of iced coffee just now.
probably zero shows played, zero practices, but still in my mind it exists that there is a band called Tangled Butt Hair.
Oh my god. That's awful. It also reminds me that I need to get my dog a haircut because sometimes, those poop walks don't get so clean.
That's right.
Good times. So yeah, I mean, that was the first band.
Okay.
Was a punk band.
And at what point do you work your way into, like, when does it become time for touring is like a legit thing that you're doing more often? Is it start with Kiss Kiss, or did you dabble in that before?
I mean, I guess in high school, like we had like changed into like some more serious bands from the punk band to more of like influence of like Cave In and Converge and all these like, I don't know, just like those bands. Saves the Day, I guess, was one of them too, like through being cool. So there was like a slew of different influences. Imagine like Saves the Day meets Converge.
Sure. I mean, I got it right in my mind. I know exactly what it is.
So we're like, let's just fucking get everything in here. Let's get like Opeth stuff in here. Like, who cares? But so we did some like short things like down to DC or like I think up to where did we, like Boston or something, nothing like really crazy. And it was only like 3 shows in a row, maybe. And then college came, and that was college. So I didn't like do any more of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really until as soon as I graduated college, 2006, that Kiss Kiss hit the road.
that point, how do you get, so Kiss Kiss is one of those bands that had like 37,000 members in its history, and at what point like do you get involved? Like how do you get into Kiss Kiss?
I was wrapping up my last year of college, so what was I doing? I remember like I knew them from my girlfriend, because my girlfriend was like, at the time she was like, you got to check out this band Kiss Kiss, and I heard the EP and I was like, oh, they're like really sweet.
Yeah.
And then we had them come out and play a show with like my band at the time out in East Hampton.
And what was that band called?
Asadia.
Okay. That sounds pretty metal. I don't know that it was a metal band, but that sounds like a pretty heavy band.
No, it wasn't.
No?
I don't know what it was. It was kind of like it was very Mars Volta influenced, but we just couldn't find a singer that could like swing it, because it's a hard thing to do. I mean, that was like when Deloused came out and was like, oh, we gotta do.
Yeah. So much of my musical history was influenced by whatever band. Like, oh, this album came out, we gotta do that song.
Yeah,
that's our next song.
It's like, wow. I really wish that still happened. Like, I can't say that a record comes out or I go to a show anymore and I like come home and I'm like, I gotta like sit down and like hit the drawing board again, you know?
Right.
Which I would love if it did, but yeah, it's hard to find. But so we had Kiss Kiss come out and play with us, and I was like blown away. And then I heard they were looking for a guitarist, and I was like student teaching in college, so I was like waking up at like 5-6 a.m., like shaving, putting on a suit and tie, teaching little kids in band, music theory, orchestra, choir, all that stuff. And then after, when I had free time, I would like learn. We had a video actually of the show that we played together, so I was like, let me just like take a crack at like learning some of these tunes, you know?
Oh, okay.
So when I went up there to play with them, they were like, what the fuck? Like we didn't even release these songs yet. Like, we didn't even like get done recording these yet. And I was like, no, I like checked out this video. So like I guess there were like a slew of people that auditioned. But there were only like 1 or 2 songs they auditioned, and I could essentially just like play through their new album, which wasn't out.
Wow. That just shows you got to learn your shit, man,
and stuff, and kind of went from there.
Wait, did you say you played shows with the Ataris?
Yeah, it was like the first show of mine was like, I think it was like a week after I went up there to audition. They're like, we played like 2 shows with the Ataris. Yeah.
Kiss playing with the Ataris. I feel like, is there any crossover? Like, are there any people who go to an Atari show who enjoy watching Kiss Kiss?
I don't think there was ever a crossover with Kiss Kiss shows. It could have been like any band. It's like, no, these guys are fucking weird.
At least we can bond there, because
but I mean, people can get into your music. Well, you know what the difference is? I think like people could get into our music until like we hit like, you know, we play like 4 songs and would always have a short set, and people were like somewhere into it. But then like when we'd hit like Virus, and then End in Noise, and then just Josh would just be on the ground like slamming his delay pedal and like hitting a bunch of keys. Meanwhile, like I was at the bar like 5 minutes ago. Like that was, I think that kind of turned everyone off.
Which I feel like there's nothing better to me. Like seeing that happen, like that's my band. Like a band that does that shit, I'm about.
Yeah.
So I think that's bands like ours. Like we try to do things, and you're not like being contrived about it. Like that's just how you are as a band and as people. You're doing things that like, well, I'd love to see this as a band, and then you're like, we're always surprised. Like, how are people not like loving this? Like if I was out there, I would be loving this.
How are people not what?
Loving this, like loving seeing a band just like throw shit around and like walk off the stage and like yell at each other, and like that's my kind of show. I would love to see that happening, and these people could care less.
yelling at each other. Yeah, we were all yelling at each other on stage during the shows, like just completely fucking pissed off at everyone in the band.
That sounds like a good show to me. But that's a pretty big first show. I feel like the Ataris on the East Coast back in whatever 2000, what do you say, 2006, 2007? I'd imagine those are pretty packed shows.
Yeah, they were definitely pretty great shows. The first one was at the Chance, I believe. The Chance or the Loft or something in Poughkeepsie. You know that venue? That's
we played the Loft, or when it was the Loft, we played there with you guys once.
Oh yeah, is that the upstairs or the downstairs?
I think
the Loft is the upstairs, right?
Yeah, I think we played upstairs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, we played downstairs with the Ataris, but upstairs was fucking awesome. And then the other show I think was at somewhere in Manhattan, maybe Bowery Ballroom or something. No, I don't think it was quite that big. I don't remember though.
So how many tours had you guys done when you had toured with us? Because us touring with you guys was like our first like publicized, like promoted big tour for us. So like what in your lineage of being in that band, like when did that come? When did that happen?
Do you remember what year that? I'm definitely like, don't think of me as Jared, because Jared knows all these dates and numbers. He puts me to fucking shame.
Oh yeah. He was pretty good. He was schooling me for sure.
He's insane. Am I losing you? Are you there?
No. I think I'm just not facing the mic. Like a professional. I would think that was because we started the band in like 2005, so I'd imagine that was like 2006, maybe 2007.
Oh, so it was probably like our second tour or something.
Okay.
I know that the first one probably made us age about 10 years.
What was your first tour? What was the first tour?
I mean, the first one was just, we were playing, I think we were like headlining, which is a mistake right there for our first tour.
But it wasn't Kiss Kiss's first tour, or was it?
No, I think they had done, because when they played with my band in college, they were on a little tour.
Okay.
So they had done some touring before that. But yeah, we went out and like headlined that one year, and this dude Caleb Engstrom was opening up for us. And
I know that name. I've heard that name before.
Have you? Probably.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Probably from being like in our bus and seeing like old posters or something.
Maybe that could be.
Yeah. I don't know what that dude's doing now, but it was just like him and his girlfriend like playing really soft music, which made no sense. And so that was it. But like, Jesus, that tour really was insane. Just getting through it and really playing to no one.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it was like we really took advantage of like the sightseeing and stuff, because like that was my first tour, and I don't know if they had been out there too much out west. I was like going out west.
Okay.
So we, driving through like Montana and like all that stuff was so pretty, and we had stopped and done like some splunking and like running through caves and camping and like all that stuff.
Awesome.
It was like, yeah, it was like so wild. But on like, it was like everything was out of pocket. It was like essentially just a vacation, like a month-long vacation, maybe 2 months. Yeah.
Did you have the bus at that point?
We had a short bus.
Okay.
What did we have? With you guys, we had the
you
long
had the
one.
big, you had the big bus.
Right.
So what was do you remember like what the motivation, like, because every now and then I'll see a band that has that and I'm like, man, that looks awesome. What a cool idea. And then I start to think about like trying to keep up such a thing, and I'm like, that seems impossible. I know nothing about cars, so like to think that I would have to be now responsible for something like that seems ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
it was awful.
Do you remember like was it just literally like, all right, let's get a bus because we want to get a bus, or it just made the most sense to do that?
No, it was that big. The first bus ever, or the big bus? Either bus. Well, like there were two smaller ones. There was like one that was essentially a van, but it was a bus.
Okay.
And that is like pretty much the same thing as a car, so it's not so bad. And then we like upgraded because there was a deal of something that's slightly bigger, but still a half size, like a short bus. Yeah. And then we got a trailer, and that was essentially just like same thing as a car. But when we got like the big bus, which is like a diesel engine, first of all, like we didn't really know shit about diesel. So Like in the winter, we're like, why doesn't this thing start like ever? And then we were quick to find that like every single place charges you so much more for these parts, and they're harder to find and harder to work on. Like, you know, you can't go into Walmart and get like an oil change, like a van, you know?
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that, like with already the other stuff you're thinking and worrying about, like now you have to marginalize even more. So like, oh, we're already out in Montana and there's nothing. Now let's cut that by 75% and try to find someone who knows diesel engine work. And
exactly.
It just seems like another headache.
There's that, and like getting up those mountains where first of all, there's like a governor that kept us at like 60, 65 on flat terrain. But when like going uphill, it's like you're flooring it anyway, going 60. And then you just keep your, like, I would literally cross my legs, put both feet on the gas, and like take a nap, take a quick nap. And then like we'd get to the mountains and all of a sudden, like still floored, we're going like 25. Wow. Like no one's happy behind us or in front of us or in the bus. It was
an unhappy caravan.
But I mean, the reason we got it was because, we were about to go on tour. Like it was like a day before a tour. We played a show at the Cake Shop in Manhattan, and the what is it called? The big pipe that's in the bottom of the vehicle.
Exhaust?
Yes, that pipe fell off.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So like Jared was driving up the FDR, and like get a call from him being like, "Hey, we're about to go on tour like tomorrow, the next day," and yeah, the exhaust pipe is sitting on the FDR. And I'm like driving like with my head out the window, trying to like stay alive. And it's so loud and illegal and all this stuff. So he like, he went and got the bus crushed or like whatever, because Josh's dad owned a junkyard. We went and picked up this long full-size bus. It was like super cheap for a vehicle of that size. It was like $3,000 or something.
Oh, wow.
And that was it. None of us had licenses for it. I remember driving out of that place. Because Jared hadn't slept and he came with me to get it, and he was like, well, now that we're here, I gotta sleep. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll try and drive this huge thing by myself, like through Long Island of like all places and the city. I was like I was like, I can't believe like it's not fair to the people on the road that I am doing this, you know?
Yeah.
But that was it. And then we all learned very quickly how to use it.
Yeah.
But we were like pretty ruthless about the drivers. Like we'd be like, I mean, now we don't even like, even in like the Venetia fair and whatever, like we'd be like, we only let a few people drive the van. But like back then we're like, all right, get up here, Rebecca. And she's like, well, I'm a girl. I'm like, I don't know. I've never done this. We're like, all right, just fucking get on up here.
Time to learn.
Like, I didn't know how to do it.
Throw you in the water and drown. You're going to learn how to swim.
I didn't know how to do it yesterday.
Well, at the very least, then everyone learned a new trait, something they can bring with them for the rest of their life. They know how to drive a school bus.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Times are tough. You can just jump right into one and be like, yep, let's roll.
Let's fucking roll, kids. That's the way it was.
So being in a band like Kiss Kiss, where you're jumping into like an already moving thing and something that is, you know, very specifically like Josh, you know, that Josh has a vision. Like, do you ever feel like a push and pull of like you have ideas, but like he has ideas and it's his kind of thing? Or like, is it pretty evenly, like if you came to the table with ideas, he was open to them, and like as you felt like a group? Or was it a pretty focused band?
It was like give or take, like at first for sure, because I was like just the new guy.
Right.
And like no one really trusted anyone yet as far as like musical taste or creativity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not true, because I definitely trusted their judgment, because I was like so into a lot of the stuff that was happening already.
Yeah.
But it definitely took some time to like get involved in the songwriting process and stuff like that. And like to the point now where, I mean, Josh and I still chat, and we got together. We were getting together a few times here and there to work on stuff that was either going to be a new Kiss Kiss record or just like something of our own or whatever.
Okay.
This is like fairly recent. And I remember because he's all about the scoring stuff on like Sibelius. I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that?
No.
Oh yeah. So he like scores out stuff, because that's, I mean, he, like him and I went to school. I went 1 year for composition. I think he went all 4 years for composition.
Okay.
But I was never like in the program of scoring digitally. We always had to write stuff out on paper and whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, he had Sibelius. He would write all the shit out. So he like came with like some of this new stuff like fairly recently, and I remember being like, well, this part doesn't make any sense and sounds like complete garbage. And and he was like, well, that's debatable, but I respect that. And we like literally changed it all around. So now, like, after years, I can be like, this is garbage, and we'll throw it away, and then, you know, have like more of a say. But at first, for sure, he was like, you know, I'd like bring up an idea about a song that's like already written. He'd be like, what are you, fucking high, dude?
Yeah, I'm always curious about that dynamic of, you know, jumping into a band that's already a thing, and like where's the comfort level, like how is writing going, how even like playing shows, like can you completely act like yourself, or is there like kind of a thing, like an image to uphold, or like just kind of like the little issues that can arise from that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, how are the dynamics music, like writing music with Dr. Manhattan?
Well, so we were all four started the band, so like there was never really a thing of like, you know, a vision, or like, I mean, and as our bands were, we wrote all kinds of weird, crazy songs. So there, I don't know that I remember a single song ever being turned down. Like maybe it was like we had an idea that we just never went back to, but never like, if we were writing together, it probably became a song. And most of the time, I'd say a lot of the time, Matt would come to the table with ideas fleshed out that or like he'd have a guitar line and we would play around with it, or someone would come to the table with like one part and we'd build off of it. It was pretty collaborative, but
yeah,
as the years went on, he would kind of put together like more fully fleshed out ideas, or Andrew would, or Adam would, or I'd have some things. So like, for the first album, the first EP, it was definitely like, here's one thing, let's do it. And then as we moved on, Adam and Matt would hang out and write a song together, and like, all right, let's learn that song. Or, you know, Andrew had an idea, so all right, let's just, like, we tried to like respect, and instead of just like fucking around with the idea and changing it, we would try to be like, all right, let's flesh this whole idea out, even though I either have feelings about it, or, you know, I have my own ideas. Like, let's see where your idea goes, and try to be more respectful to that kind of idea. And I think that was a hard change to make, because you kind of go into your brain of like, oh, well, I came up with this sweet drum idea, I want to do all this crazy fills and shit, and they're like, well, I kind of want to make it more simple, and you're like, oh, but I want a drum. So learning, like, I think there was definitely some learning curve going on with like, no, like respect what they're coming to the table with, like see what that sounds like, and then kind of build from there. Don't just try to chop it up the instant you hear it. So
right. It's such a hard thing.
Yeah.
To work with like 4 or 5, you know, however many other people like creatively like that. I mean, every band is so different, and like stuff with the Venetia Fair, we would always try and find a balanced ground, which like, excuse me. I don't know if it was like for better or worse, because like sometimes there were things that obviously all of us thought were like gold, and then some 1 or 2 people were like, oh no, it's got to change. And we would always be like, all right, well, what are you thinking should be changed about this? And then we would find like a middle ground for like everything. So like essentially you could say like a record is like just a middle ground record. You know? So I don't like, it's hard to say if it's for better or for worse.
Right.
But like, God, the freedom of like doing solo stuff is like insane. You like save so much time.
I think for a person in your position, that I think that serves you well. But for me, trying to write stuff on my own is fucking impossible. Like I had like a brief little spout of, oh, I've got some ideas on my own, I'm gonna flesh these out, and then since then I cannot like put pen to paper. I cannot, like, there's just nothing. Like I soon realized like, oh, like I work in a collaborative environment 1,000 times better than I do trying to work on my own, musically at least. Like
right.
It's like damn near impossible. And not to say that you can't write songs drums first, but like you need to have a mind that like you play other instruments, or like you can figure that out. Like guitar and piano wise, I'm just kind of noodling around. It's not enough to really, outside of like a few chords, like I can't really go much further. So it's
right. You would almost need like a full, like a vision in your head, and kind of sing it to another person and be like, this is what I'm
exactly.
hearing. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I love collaborating with a drummer. Like if there's to be one other person, it would be amazing to have a drummer. That dude Kev was like that guy for me for forever that I was talking about from high school. And even now we like get together. We did something like a few weeks ago, just like fucking around. And he's the drummer of the little side fun project called The Mayor that we do. Did you ever hear any of that
that's
stuff?
awesome. He's a killer drummer, man.
Yeah. He's the guy. He's the punk beat guy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and we just do that to fuck around. But like that kind of thing, like I could always, no matter any time, just like get in a room with him and he'll just like play along with like anything from like soft stuff to like incredibly heavy stuff or to just like weird shit. And just like he doesn't even like really practice anymore, which blows my mind because like he got married, he has a kid, he's a pilot. He's got a lot on his plate right now.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really practice, but like, he got one day that he was free. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, came down to the studio and just like laid down some like 4 drum tracks and like he was right back in it. Obviously like it took a little bit of like greasing up in the beginning, but so fun. But yeah, definitely collaborating with a drummer is like the way to go if there's to be like 2 people, one other person.
Well, that's a good dude to have in your back pocket because those Mayor songs, I loved what I heard. And just to think that that's a guy that like, doesn't practice, like has a whole crazy schedule of his own, and he just pops in and is like, all right, let me rip these out. And then, all right, I got to go fly a plane. Like, what?
Totally. And it's so funny. Like we grew up so close to each other, like listening to the same music all the time. And we could almost like hear influences of things as we're writing. And like, I could like hear that in his drumming too, even now,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's like, somewhat like the drummer of Sunny Day Real Estate would do that. Like, and we used to listen to that all the time. It's like, it's pretty cool. It's like a language.
And it's good to have a person that like speaks your language. Like you can bring them in, you have an idea and you're like, all right, I know that he can do something good with this. Even if you've like sequenced drums or like done stuff, like you can show him that or just be like, listen, here's the guitar riff I have. And then, he can put something good to that. To build from. You're not like starting from scratch every time with a new drummer or trying to like find that comfort level, which takes work, man. Finding someone you're comfortable with to write musically. I'm not saying it's as intimate as a relationship, but it's not far off. It's the ballpark.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's definitely in the ballpark.
So at what point, so you were in Kiss Kiss for how long? I guess, you're still technically, if it were ever a thing again, you'd be in it, but I guess how long was it active with you in it?
4 years, 5 years, something like that.
Okay.
I don't even know. There wasn't even like a set date that it ended. It didn't even end. It just like fizzled.
So to be continued, basically.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I think we got home from a tour and we're like, God damn it. I'm like sick of this.
Yeah. That's how that happens, man.
Yeah, and then but no one quit. We just all like Jared went and like did Hidden Hospitals, Josh did Vuvuzela. I was playing with the Gay Blades. Rebecca did what did she do? World Inferno.
Yeah.
And that was it, but it was like an unspoken thing. And then whatever bass player we had at the time did their own thing too. It was James.
So Kiss Kiss, like you said, it just kind of fizzles. Everyone starts to do their own things, and you start playing with the Gay Blades, which is funny because that was we toured with them and they were a 2-piece, and I never thought like the albums they recorded had more than 2 pieces, and we were always wondering like, why don't you just get other dudes in the band? But then we'd see them play the 2 of them, and they're like, all right, so that's their thing, that's cool. So I just kind of assumed they would never add other pieces, and then. I don't know, I think one day either I just saw a picture of you with them or I talked to you or one of them and I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, all right, sweet.
Yeah, that came about randomly on on the last Kiss Kiss tour, I believe it was. We did a tour. Who was it with? I want to say Oh Death and Murdered by Death.
Yeah, because that's where
that tour. I don't know if you remember. I think that was one of the last ones. Or no, maybe it was with the Venetia Fair. I literally fucking don't remember. But I know that midway through the tour from Texas, we got to Texas, and then we had a second string up the West Coast with a band called the Paper Chase. They're awesome. It was like John Cogleton, the producer from Texas. It's like his project. He's done like some pretty sweet stuff. He did like a Murder by Death record and a ton of albums actually. But anyway, so we were on that tour, and James Wells hits me up and was like, "Yo, we got this new record, Savages, coming out." And like there's like a lot of like organ and keyboards and piano, and I know like you can do like some multi-instrumental stuff. Like, you want to take a crack at it for like this 2 weeks? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, send me some demos or whatever, because they didn't have that all recorded yet.
Okay.
And so I was like literally in the back of the bus with a keyboard and like headphones, just like learning those. So like when we got home, because we didn't have any plans of touring, like there were literally no plans. So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then James came up like an angel and I was like, here, like take a keyboard and like do this, and we'll go on tour like literally like 2 weeks after you get home.
Nice.
And so that's kind of how that happened. And it was just like a hired thing. He's like, we have X amount of money, we'll give it to you. And then after like a week or two, we just kind of started kicking it, and they were like, just do this all the time with us. And
nice.
Yeah. So we spent a good, 2 years hitting the road or something.
Yeah.
It was fun. But like, I mean, the reason like that came to an end was like, for one, I just signed up as like to be hired at first. And two, like keyboard isn't my main instrument. So I don't really get the same kind of feeling playing it as opposed to like guitar. So I think that's like mostly, it literally had nothing to do with the guys, because I loved hanging out with them. But I think I loved hanging out with them more than performing, which is, not the way it should be.
Right. Yeah. And it was funny for me to see that, because it was like my worlds intersecting, because, we only did like, maybe it was like 7 to 10 days with them, or maybe even 5. Like it was just a short little tour, but seeing you join their band, I was just like, man, it's like my brain is just like throwing things together of my past experiences, and just putting members of bands that I've toured with together. Just
it's so weird, right?
Yeah.
God, I wish so bad that I were with the Gay Blades when they were out with you guys, because I remember like watching that video of you guys in the hotel room like singing. Was it like Dog Day Afternoon or something?
Yeah, and then eventually I think like the Beatles or something. I think that was the last night, and then we were about to go on Warped Tour, and we James and Quinn were getting like mushy with us, being like, "All right, guys, this is it. Like, you're off. Like, you're gonna be big now." We were like, "Oh, we're gonna be big now. Like, we're on Warped Tour. Like, the Gay Blades believe in us." And then we went off, and so I remember that night was like a big one, because we like, hung out in the hotel room, and we were having fun, and we were like, this is it. This is like, we're going to get boosted off into the world. And here I am, super famous. So
I mean, here you are. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't believe you even let me on this show. It's like fucking awesome.
You're welcome.
But honestly, like those two groups, like all of you guys and the guys from the Gay Blades are like some of just my favorite people. And like just seeing all of you in the room is like, God, they're all like such sweethearts, having such a like genuine fun, good time. Like, it's amazing.
And what's even funnier was that tour was with Dimira, and now Jared is with Hidden Hospitals with guys from Dimira. So like even more like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the tour was supposed to be us 3 bands, and then like say the tour was 10 days, 5 days into it, Dimira like broke up, or like I don't even remember what happened. You should talk to James and Quinn, because they were riding with them when it happened. Like they were in the van with the band when they broke up, or like when it was like unraveling. And
Jesus.
I think we were on the way to play Iowa or something, and James calls us, or we called James, and he was just like, yeah, so it's just gonna be us and you guys tonight. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, what's up? He's like, yeah, Dimira just broke up, I think. I don't know what's going on, man. And we were
Oh my
like,
God.
oh, right then. So then the other dates of the tour were just us and the Gay Blades, and that was that. And I don't even know if we said bye to them. Like, I think they just like split, and we were like, okay, like here we go.
Jesus, that
So
I'm just trying to picture like you should interview. Are you gonna have James or Quinn or some or one of them on the
yeah,
show?
I talked to them both about having them at separate times. So I don't remember when I scheduled them for, but yeah, I'm gonna have them on. So I'm hoping I'm gonna bet on my memory to bring that up, or I'll make a little note for myself. But yeah, it was a funny ass time.
That I'm trying to like just envision how awkward that van ride must have been.
Yeah,
Or, like,
yeah,
James and Quinn sitting in there just like as like guests and everyone just
yeah.
like I just picture like
Yeah, they rode that was like part of the thing was they were a two-piece, so they were like hitched with them, and then they broke up and they were like, so
yeah.
this is fucking weird. And then yeah.
Are you guys sure you don't want to break up for our sake?
Do you want to just hang on for like 5 more days so this isn't like fucking weird?
Jesus, that's
Yeah.
some story. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
wild.
yeah. But yeah, just another layer of like weird knowing band guy things. Yeah, then Jared goes on to play with those guys in the band he's in now. So I just
Yeah.
totally forgot about that. That's funny.
That is crazy. Jared seems to be loving it out in Chicago. I'm pretty pumped for him. He's got like his girlfriend and his band,
Yeah.
and he's pretty settled in.
Yeah, I've run into him. I run into him a couple times, like in the last few Dr. Manhattan shows we had. He was there or like came, and it was good seeing him.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got
Charlotte.
the party animal is waking
Sup,
up.
girl?
It's okay, you're fine. So at what point does how does the Venetia Fair come into play? Because I know you guys cross paths playing together, but like, how does that happen? You kiss, it kind of fizzles. You do Gay Blades for a couple years, and then all of a sudden, I hear you're in the Venetia Fair, which was a band that we'd played with a couple times too. So I was like, man, like, all right, my Mike's doing this. How did that happen?
That was so we were trying to think of how that actually came about. I mean, I've been like such good friends with all those dudes for quite some time because like we did a tour with them.
Oh, see, that is then.
Yeah, and we like kept the Kiss did a tour with them, and so them and I had kept in touch. Like Ben and I had like a monthly long phone convo all the time about just what's been going on. Just one of those guys that kept in touch with.
Yeah.
And then he hits me up and is like, "Yeah, our bass player left," and I was like, I was like, well, it's not quite guitar, and I'm not super pumped on playing piano, but I was like, I'll go up there and like see what's good. Like worst case scenario, I get to hang out with the guys for a weekend and then come home.
Yeah.
So I went up there, started doing that, and that's essentially like how it started, and then ended up switching to Chark and I like swapped instruments, and so I started playing guitar, and that's kind of how that all, in a nutshell, how that went down.
Yeah. And you were in, how long did that go on for? Because now as of recently,
God.
I
don't know.
Venetia Fair is done.
I don't know, dude. Like years, I think. Yeah, definitely years.
But so like a month or two ago, Venetia Fair announced that it was done as a band. Is that right?
Oh yeah. And we had like called it, like probably about 10 months ago, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
But we just never really said anything. And I don't know. I think it was just a bunch of different reasons, from like some creative differences to long distances, and there were like a lot of things. Also, like a lot of us have just been getting tired and like focusing more on like making ends meet and stuff. Like when we were on tour, I was like doing like publicity like full time in the van, and and also like even mixing and mastering some stuff with headphones to like the best of my ability until I'd get home. And you know, Chark and Chris were doing Black Market Custom, and then Chris ended up he ended up leaving the band, and Joe started working at Apple and then booking for Artery Global, and Ben started doing some scoring work for this company called Score, which our manager is like a part owner in.
Okay.
So so like everyone was just like pretty focused on music. I mean, not on music.
Right.
And like my girlfriend was down in New York and I was living in Boston. And I was like, man, if everyone's up here just kind of like working, I'm just going to move down to New York and like work there. And like when we want to get together, we can. And then they like wanted to start like a new project with some of the old songs. And we just figured it would be easier to like part ways and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no new music coming from, you said that they want to start a new project. Is that a thing that's happening or no?
Some of the guys might be. I don't know how much I can or can't say.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I don't really know what they're planning on doing. But I know like Chuck and Ben and Joe have been working on some material that we had, and then working on new material. But I also know that Ben moved to Syracuse. Joe was planning on moving to California. Chuck was planning on moving to Texas, but ended up moving. He's moving to Brooklyn now, actually, February, last I heard. So we will be neighbors. So I don't really know. I don't really have an answer as to what exactly is happening.
A lot of people are just in one band and then they're in it until they're done and then they go off and do something. But like jumping in and out of bands and, you know, making kind of ends meet and like staying in music, like that's not always the easiest thing to do. And plus, like you're doing recording things, you're doing PR, like you're doing 1,000 things. Like, did getting into the other side of music, like PR and recording, did that happen just out of like literally I got to just make some money, or like were you already interested in that stuff, or like when did that come into play?
Recording I've loved doing forever.
Yeah.
And I started doing that a little bit with like I even recorded some other bands in high school, like for them kind of thing, with just like a 4-track recorder and then got like an 8-track mini disc player and stuff like that. Yeah. And then I went to school for audio engineering for 1 year, I think. But honestly, like I wasn't super into it in school because it was all numbers and stuff. No feel. Like, yeah, the intro. I was like, when can we get on this fucking mixing board? And they were like, whoa, ho, sit down, young man. Yeah, like, let me tell you about decibels and hertz. And I was like,
I don't give a shit about that. Just turn it up.
God. But so I love doing that, and then just started doing it a little more and more, and now I'm like, it's just like fun, like learning new things like regarding recording is like feels so good, whereas like other things like I could care less about, so I figured I might as well do it more and more as I can. And PR stuff was to actually, instead of make money, it was to save money.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it was very expensive. It was like, I remember like there were like campaigns with these like publicity companies, and they were like, it was like $1,500 a month for a 3-month minimum. Wow. But then like after like the first month, when your record drops or whatever, like you're like, what are you doing with my $1,500 a month these next 2 months? You know? And then like having some bands on the label that needed PR too, it just like added up like crazy. And I was usually the guy in the band that was connected with the publicist and the media outlets. To coordinate and make sure we did our interviews and did all that stuff. So I really dug doing that, coordinating and talking with the people from media and whatever. And that's kind of where I just was like, I like kind of know all these people, you know? So I should just go ahead.
I'll have to say that I remember, so you guys came to Chicago and you stayed with Jen and I when we lived in Palatine, and I just remember having a distinct memory of waking up, seeing all you guys hard at work together and thinking like, damn, this is how a band works. Like no one was just chilling, no one was like sleeping still. Like, you know, a lot of bands, like there's just the one person, one or two people who that's what they do, but like everyone was a part of your system, and I was like, that's awesome. Like you guys are all hard at work, and it's work. Like you all know everyone has a job and everyone's doing it well. And like, I think it paid off, because I'd always see like, you know, social media posts from the Venetia Fair that had like a shitload of likes, and it seemed like you guys had a good presence and people, you had a good fan base. So like it was paying off. Like you guys had a good thing going.
We did. Yeah, I do remember like we did work our asses off more than most bands I've been in. And just like, it was like a solid, like Joe was doing booking. Yeah. Like he would literally book our tours that we were on already to continue them. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're like, well, let's just keep this going and like book on the road and just keep going. And even like Chuck and Chris, like they handled you don't think it's like too much, but like even the van stuff,
right?
Like they
Having
could like
someone who knows how to do that is huge.
Oh yeah, he would go in there and like tinker with like the engine and do, you know, all this like crazy stuff. So like we never really had to pay out the ass for that. And then I was doing like PR stuff, so we never really had to pay for that. And kind of, it was just kind of like a running machine, I guess.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was definitely cool. And
Yeah.
also like Chuck and Chris, they built all of our gear.
Right.
And
you
they
guys
also
had like stuff for the stage that was sweet. So like,
yeah, they built all that stuff. They built everything in our trailer, the bunk beds in the van. They just like build stuff. It's crazy. The merch display with the lights and everything. They're like super talented guys.
those are good people to have, man.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So now that your focus is less on like touring and playing shows and it's more on the, you know, the back end of it, doing that stuff, like, do you feel like this is your thing now? Like this is you're in your pocket of doing what you enjoy most, or do you still like miss or want to be out touring and doing those kind of things?
I don't currently want to really. I haven't got that like tick yet to be on the road. I know I will get it, and I did mention to Eric that I might do some with him, like do some touring. But
wow.
like, yeah, we'll see. Like, I don't know. That's like a ways away. For the time being, I'm pretty like content now. We have our few like Venetia farewell shows coming up, and they should be fun. It's only 3 shows, but at the same time, I'm like semi dreading it because I hadn't played these songs in 10 months. I have to like revisit, relearn, go up to Boston, probably practice. You know, it's just like a big thing, but it'll be fun for sure.
Well, good.
But I did real quick want to offer up one of these vinyl. I remember mentioning for you to give away if you're interested. One of the Kiss Kiss test pressings.
Oh yeah, man, that'd be awesome.
Cool. So yeah, you're more than welcome to take one. You know, see who wants to do whatever you have them do to get one. But
really, just do anything. Just pay me a compliment, and I'll give it to you. It doesn't take much to win my heart.
You hear that, folks? Just one compliment, and you can get a test pressing.
That's all it is. That's all it takes.
That's awesome. Totally.
Well, good, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you, pushing through 1,000 Skype calls and making this all happen and changing a baby's diaper. And it was an uphill battle, just like driving a bus through Montana, but we made through it. And
it's all about the experience, right?
And
the learning curve.
And I have to say, I know I talked about it on Jared's interview, but you are still responsible for me living and having a child today. As much as you want to deny it, you did save my life in Connecticut from drowning and being washed down a river. So
I don't want to think about that day. God, the second I saw your poor head go underwater, I was like, oh fuck, I got to get out there.
Well, you are my hero and my knight in shining armor. Good. So
I would do it again any day. I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. And thank you for your time today. And let's do this again because I'm sure there's 1,000 things we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, Nick, definitely. Let's definitely catch up. Thanks for having me. Tell Jen I say what's up, and we'll be in touch. All right,
buddy. Have a good Friday.
Sick, man. You too.
See you, buddy.
See ya.